Hello there. This is Raising the Cane. Woo, woo,
America's
woo,
favorite
woo.
podcast.
What favorite podcast?
America's favorite podcast.
America's? Okay, we'll go with that. So
And
we're
this
just
is
what?
and this is Thanksgiving week. You said take the lead. I'm taking it.
Okay, take the lead. Take it. Take it.
Take it.
Run with it. It's just us. Sandra wishes happy Thanksgiving for everyone, and she won't be joining us today.
She was making
So
pies.
she's making pies today.
We're very
You
pro
know,
pie.
roll pumpkin pie.
Yes, we know the value of pie.
The value of pi. Is that 3.14 or whatever that was in high
It
school,
continues.
college?
Yes.
Continues? Okay. Or was it a pie as in pumpkin pie? So anyway,
If a pie explodes in the forest, do you hear it?
wait, I hear a pumpkin exploding right now.
No, that's you having a stroke.
That was mean spirited, but I forgive you.
Thank you. Even though I done asking for it. Um, so I saw in relationship to the theme of today's podcast, the movie by director Eli Roth called Thanksgiving, which was released this past Friday. It's
Okay.
it fills in the gap of Thanksgiving horror films, of which there aren't too many that I know.
Thanksgiving horror film. You're right. I don't really know of any Thanksgiving horror films.
In fact, there's not that many Thanksgiving movies per se.
That's right. Yeah,
You
then
know,
it just jumps from Halloween to Christmas, basically.
exactly.
Thanksgiving is just like used to be very important.
Yeah, I think
Right? Yeah,
when we were a more godly nation,
that's right. But
you
things
know,
change, and people want to make up basic stuff. We won't get into that because we don't want to be canceled out by the sensitive folks.
I dare them to cancel us. I challenge them.
Where truth is now a lie, and lies and make believe whatever you want is the truth.
In fact, isn't that the motto of the state of California?
Hmm. Well, well,
We'll be
well.
back to driving on the 10 freeway between Alameda and Santa Fe. Well, I won't be. I'm gonna give it at least a month to see if it collapses.
So what about
Well, we haven't finished talking about the movie.
yeah, talk about the movie then. You went on a tangent. Let's talk about the movie, please.
So it's stars Patrick Dempsey, who you probably know from Grey's Anatomy, portrays Sheriff Newland in this movie, set in Plymouth, Massachusetts, in contemporary times when rest kind of a super big box retailer called Right Mart has an early Black Friday sale on Thanksgiving itself. And tragedy occurs in a very catastrophic and calamitous way. And the action picks up 1 year uh, going forward when sanguinary shenanigans ensue with a serial slasher seeking vengeance.
Hmm.
And like I said, it's a rarity not only for movies of a horror sort being released in the month of November, but having a Thanksgiving theme. So check it out. You've been warned.
Okay. Thank you. Well, you got your picture mean face on. Okay, it slipped back to a picture with you in an orange like Halloween shirt,
Yeah, that's the true
Halloween
horror
color.
of the holidays.
So anyway, it's Thanksgiving Day too, Thanksgiving week colors as well, because it's some orangey colors and stuff like that. But anyway, uh let's continue to talk about films, not horror films during Thanksgiving. But the Marvels. We saw that, and wow, it was nice. It you know it I think it could have been better in certain areas, but it was a solid movie. It was entertaining for sure.
Yeah, significantly better than the uh economic stats that it's one of the lower performing MCU films, and all the theories behind why it underperformed, whether Brie Larson's previous history of unfortunate comments have basically poisoned the well when it comes to any starring vehicle with her in it, or if it's some form of misogynism or misogyny and sexism, or whether there's developing superhero fatigue that dampened enthusiasm.
I think there's some of those. I think MCU has been around a long time. I think it's kind of waning into me in a way, but on a personal level, it's like okay, but maybe it's a little bit above, and maybe not just one thing. Maybe it's not just one smoking gun. But I have to say I enjoyed the movie, and I know some people take issue with any comedic elements in some of these superhero films or serious films or action hero and stuff. Which I think because I've heard other comments of other where could have been Thor or whoever character may say something funny and stuff. Wow, they should get more serious. People are really kind of got to stick up. You know what? When they're trying to alleviate the tension or or it's just funny. It's like, well, some people think it should just be serious. Well, first of all, there's no real superheroes like what we see in the MCU. Like they're not real. So to me, you know, if the superheroes are ice skating, well, why would they be ice skating? Well, maybe they just want to. Maybe they want to have some fun. Why should they be doing this? Why should they be? I think some people take it too serious.
Well, yeah, yeah, and any work that considers itself artistic or creative and puts it out there in terms of public consumption should be prepared for some degree of criticism and commentary, and maybe even
Mhm.
imitation or parody, like what the
Right.
Wayans brothers would do, or
Yeah.
even Weird Al Yankovic in the world of
Yeah. And
rock music.
and we know who these people are, and pretty much like Adam Sandler's production company, Happy Madison, it's going to be some weird stuff going on and funny and weird. And if these people have been around a long time, so maybe some of the younger people haven't heard of them and they see them for the first time. To be fair, and you either
Yeah.
like them or you don't. But the folks that have been around a while, it's not smart if you already know what they're going to do, what this director or with these actors, how they portray people. And if you don't like it, then why would you go spend money to see them in something? That's where it doesn't make sense. This,
So
you know,
I think you could do better in terms of the balance between the comedic elements and the high stakes life and death drama. I think that the last Thor may have overdone it with respect to the the humorous, whimsical,
well,
mirthful
I know.
side.
Well, Ragnarok was probably the most out there, I think, wasn't
Well,
it?
well, actually, the one after that,
I
when Christian Bale portrayed Gore the God Butcher,
That's true. I
because
still
I think
think
Ragnarok hit
Ragnarok
the
was
right note.
more. Yeah, but when they were on the planet with fighting and they're basically slaves and what I'm trying to say, gladiators, galactic gladiators, where people are betting who lives, who dies. Yeah, you know what, I liked all of them, but yeah, you're right. I see your point too. Perhaps too, you know, maybe a little more serious in some regards, but
You're,
I don't know.
you're talking about the God of Thunder, worshipped by the Vikings, and has been a warrior for thousands of years. And even though he has his almost divine celebrity status, I don't think he would be as jocular engaged in combat. It would be something that you would experience after the wars or battles were
After you're
won.
victorious. Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't be doing it during it. See, Thor isn't like Spider-Man, where you would be
Biggest.
joking during the fight.
So if you just joined us in our psychoanalysts analyzing superheroes, well, join in. Um, yeah, I see your point. He should be more serious. So you're siding with people where they're making it too funny, too loose, and too when the galaxy is at stake, or the universe, or the Earth, or
Yeah, yeah. I mean, now I know that some of the DCU films or DC Extended University movies, like Henry Cavill's Man of Steel, uh, were excoriated for perhaps the antithetical reason that it was too somber, too grim, too serious, and maybe didn't have enough levity um, in the dialogue and in the situation.
well,
So,
you know what, and I think it's marketing, target marketing too, because I would say uh, the Superman of today is not the Superman when we were growing up, and because the world is a lot scarier, there's a lot going on, and things are more somber today than they were 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, not counting the World War II and obviously the Vietnam War. Outside of those, I mean, the world isn't as lighthearted as it was. And I think having a serious, and that's the same argument that they have with the Batman trilogy that, oh, it's so dark. He's called the Dark Knight too. I mean, so,
right.
I just think it's over criticism. But, everyone has a right to an opinion. But I think like Batman, now Aquaman is coming up. And so, and it looked like it may be a little more serious than the other installments, but to me, it's based on the story. And I understand, the world is about to end. Why is he cracking jokes?
Right.
But then
Well,
they would be criticized for being too somber. Well, why don't you lighten up? Well, hell, the universe is about to be destroyed. That's why he's not lightening up. And I think if you damned if you do, damned if you don't.
there's a tradition of gallows humor or black humor
Right.
where even under the gravest, ghastliest, and even ghoulish circumstances, there's a little bit of humor involved. In fact, um, in the Soviet Union, there would be jokesters that would mock Stalin and the depravity of the communist system and totalitarianism in general. So it comes down to what's the right balance for the particular movie, TV show, play that you're dealing with. I mean, sometimes all out comedy is liberating. And then certain themes, you could go overboard with trying to undercut it with humor. But look at Hogan's Heroes. I
Mhm.
mean, that was on American broadcast TV 15 years after the surrender of the Germans and the Japanese at the conclusion of the Second World War. And the sitcom is basically set in a German POW camp, and the protagonists are basically captured Allied soldiers. And they make the Nazis kind of like bumbling buffoons.
Buffoons, yeah, the buffoons, like Colonel Klink and
And
what's the uh,
Schultz,
Schultz, yeah.
Sergeant. You know,
When he said, "I know nothing, nothing,
I
nothing.
know
I don't
nothing.
know, no,
I
no,
know
nothing,
nothing.
no,
Yeah.
nothing." Because
Yeah.
see if because yeah, he would be in trouble. That's why he kept secrets. Because they're gonna say, "Why didn't you do anything about it or something? Why didn't you tell us?" And because he was doing something he shouldn't be doing.
Exactly.
It was always asking them for a favor, and then he get tied up into well, if he tells on them, it's gonna be exposed. But he was,
It's
he
mutual assured destruction. If
yeah,
they go down, he goes down too.
yeah. So
We go down together.
and then Colonel Klink was always obviously interested in himself, obviously, always for his own promotion.
Right.
And that was a good show. That was a good show.
Probably couldn't make
I
it today
missed it.
though.
Yeah. Well, a lot of shows that we grew up on is too, politically correct stuff. You wouldn't be able to get away. Not let's don't go into them, but it yeah, it'd be a lot more challenging.
Well,
But
it's because the people today don't have the same knowledge base and sense of humor. I mean, you look at contemporary
some
generations.
yeah, some of the people for sure. But anyway, well, what do you think about the? Well, let's stay on the film things for a couple more minutes or so. I'm looking forward to the next installment with Aquaman. Aquaman. Okay.
It depends whether you're from the boondocks or the big city.
Hey, it's Aquaman. Oh, it's
Aqua.
Aquaman. Aqua.
Or if
Okay.
you're from south of the border, Hombre de Agua.
Okay, that's true, depending on which country you're from. So at any rate, well, I can't do spoiler alerts because we haven't seen the film because it hasn't come out yet. But I saw the trailers where he's they need his brother's half brother help to save the ocean and earth, the land and water. So that's interesting.
Yeah, his
That
half
somebody that
brother.
yeah, someone that tried to destroy him. Yeah.
Yeah, his half brother Orm, aka Ocean Master, and the previews presented as a buddy film where two opposites divided by harsh history of antagonism and bellicosity have to put aside their differences and team up to fight a greater evil.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing that.
So,
And again, what else? It's another movie I can't think of. It's coming up
Napoleon, for
too.
one,
Oh, I want to see. Go ahead.
directed by Ridley Scott, starring Joaquin Phoenix
Phoenix.
as the
The Napoleon Bonaparte. That
yeah
seemed really interesting. I'm definitely going to see that. And it's been a while since I've seen a period piece fresh in the theaters. I usually see it afterwards and on cable or satellite or whatever.
yeah. I
But
was recommending
I want to
Killers of
go
the
to Flower Moon, yeah.
yeah
But I definitely want to see Napoleon. That's very interesting. It just seemed very exciting. And Joaquin Phoenix, I like him. He's always solid. His acting is always solid.
exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm excited to see that. And there's a lot of other films coming out next year, so we could do that. So let's change the subject. Next year, as we know, is politics, is the presidential and other races across the country. And so, what do you, what is your recent opinion of this thing? Like with who will be the nominees for the Democratic Party and Republican Party?
What's interesting is the recent entry into the Democratic presidential candidates race of Dean Phillips, a three-term Minnesota congressman
Mm-hmm.
who is the step grandson of Dear Abby, Abigail
Oh,
Van
dear.
Buren.
Yeah, I read the through her daughter. Read it every week. Yeah, dear
Yeah,
Abby.
yeah. She and her sister Ann Landers are both deceased, but uh, Phillips grew up with her, and in fact, when he was a kid, and they were at the dinner table, uh, she asked him about his political party because he was talking about a politician that visited the school,
Hmm.
and she told him that he was a Democrat because he didn't know which way to go. And um, he is a former CEO of one of the largest um, distilleries, Phillips, which
Hmm.
was the first American company to produce schnapps in the USA.
Hmm.
And
Interesting.
yeah, so, his main claim to fame in this campaign season is that he agrees with the incumbent commander in chief, Joseph Biden, uh, who has a birthday tomorrow. But he just says that he's too old. So he's basically 100% on board with whatever the president is doing. He's just that I'm younger and it's my turn, which to me, I'm not sure that's that great a campaign.
Mm.
Because if the incumbent is doing all right and your only advantage is that you're decades younger, I'm not sure why you should replace him.
Hmm. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Just to say, well, so you should vote for me because the other one's old.
Yeah.
Even
So,
even though I agree with his philosophy and what he's doing, he's just an old man, and you should vote for me. I'm a younger man. I mean, you got to have more than that.
right.
Because
Because if you're
if you give up your identity and just agree with everyone else, why do we want you?
right.
Because
Well,
you're younger. Is that a reason? You're just younger.
it's almost like Vivek Ramaswamy in the GOP presidential race, where basically um, he's the son of Indian immigrants to the U.S. and biotech billionaire, and he sometimes tries to outdo Trump. He tries to out Trump, and essentially there's no daylight between him and the former president. So why go for you? Just because you're younger and you
Well,
talk faster? Because he sometimes sounds like a used car salesman. If you ask me.
mm, no offense to the car salesman.
No, I drive, so I'm
So
pro
you're
vehicle.
not anti-vehicle. You just take the bus now. Okay. But
You know,
anyway, no
I
names.
well remember I used to take buses and trains and subways all the time, but
Mhm. So me too. Me too. But so basically, the answer to the question is ultimately Biden and Trump. Then, which you believe will be the nominees?
you know, I'm hoping it isn't, but the tea leaves right now point in that direction of a rematch. But let's not forget that you've got Nikki Haley, former governor of South
Governor.
Carolina and
Yeah.
United States ambassador to United Nations, who's also running for the GOP presidential nomination. And you've got Ron DeSantis, two-term governor of the Sunshine State of Florida, who's um, kind of receding. He had his peak when he first announced his run, but he's got kind of a robotic, rehearsed um, manner on the debate stage.
Hmm.
And then other people running, it looks like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as an independent, Marianne Williamson, the female New Age guru who seems to have violent outbursts at her staff, is also running for the Democratic presidential nod. And Cornell West, the
Professor.
progressive uh,
Yeah.
gray afroed guy, affiliated variously with Princeton and Harvard. Um, so, if those other people got some traction, it might be more interesting and
Yeah.
contentious. I mean, Tim
But
Scott just suspended his
yeah.
campaign last week.
it seems like the American public just doesn't want change, really. I guess once you get stuck on something, then they're stuck on it. It's like nothing can stop it. I mean, despite everything that's gone on both sides of the aisle, it's just like, no, Biden and Trump, that's it. I mean,
Well, it's a combination of inertia and indolence with most of the American public. They don't take the
and
time to consider whether or not there's alternatives and whether somebody better is out there waiting to be discovered. If only they took the time to watch debates and read about somebody's platforms and looking at what
right.
they've done in the past, either in the political sphere or in the private business world.
Yeah.
You
So,
see, it takes time to do your research. It takes time to independently analyze instead of just regurgitating the opinions of talking heads on cable TV and NPR.
which you
And
would
what
hope that they would provide unbiased information or news, but we know that's very hard to come by.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'll be glad when it's over because I'm pretty much done with all the news about it and all the spinning on both sides. I'll be glad. It's the same thing. When the story of OJ was over after 20 years. So
But something, this is more consequential, and we should
yeah,
care
yeah.
deeply.
No, we
And that
should, but I'll be glad it's over though. That's all. I'll be glad it's over.
sometimes
That's
I feel that way, and other times I think that there should be more time.
but there isn't. So I was just looking from we got a year, right? Less than a year. Yeah.
Well, the election would be in November 2024.
Yeah. So we're about a year out. And so far the needle hasn't shifted to anyone else but Trump or Biden. Not that something can't happen in that 12-month period, but doesn't look too good, does it? As far as viable alternatives, huh?
Well, I mean, there's the discussion of no labels. The organization is seeking uh, a moderate, and Joe Manchin, longtime septuagenarian senator of West Virginia, announced that he's not seeking another term in that coal mining
Mhm.
industrial state in the South. So you never know. Maybe somebody will catch fire.
Right. Kind of similar to Obama, how that he just came out of nowhere, huh?
Yeah, basically a skinny state senator, um,
You're being
and
descriptive
U.S.
today.
senator.
Skinny, gray hair.
I'm literally quoting members of his own party. And he is. I mean, my God, and it's not doesn't mean you're not going to heaven. This just means you're not fat. Um, I mean, descriptions. You know, um, I wouldn't be called shaggy hair these days. Um, Bald is beautiful on this International Men's Day. You know, that's just a product of having testosterone. People all that hair, they don't have enough testosterone.
Refer you to as a bald-headed attorney from Los Angeles. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, and
like you don't get a name in the script, just bald-headed attorney.
or henchman number three.
That's been number three. Okay. Okay. So anyway, that's interesting. We can go in many directions with that. So talked about films, we talked about politicians. What? I've been watching a lot of shows, documentaries, news, interviews about AI. And now that, the world's trying to come together to regulate it so it doesn't go out of hand. And I remember watching a show earlier this year about it, the actual scientists and the engineers and all the people involved in its creation. And when they were conversing with a robot, it was two robots, who they were talking to and then let debate each other, which was interesting. Two robots debating each other. But they asked a question. One of the people, the humans, asked a question about human safety if AI and robots were to be more widespread or
Yeah.
distributed among. And it says, well, and they asked, well, is there a safety concern? Essentially, I'm paraphrasing this. And the robot basically said, we're programmed to obey the orders of our creator. And notice that didn't say you're free or we're not going to kill you. It just says we follow the instructions of our creator, the person that is inputting the information and then the one robot straight out said that humans are in our way, and effectively said, why do we need humans?
Yeah.
So that tells you where that's going. Skynet.
Yeah, there you go. That's
There
right.
you go.
That's
You
right.
heard it. You heard it from Chucky the robot. Right there. Why does he, he was seemed frustrated too. They were like
Yeah.
stopping him from reaching his goals or something.
His full potential. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, well, why are you upset, Chucky, or whatever his name was, is? It was like, I'm
Why
trying to
would a
conquer
robot
the.
call himself Chucky?
No, I'm just saying that is where, as a placeholder. I'm not using real names. I don't want to violate his rights.
I mean, because if I'm gonna be a global overseer and destroyer of humanity, I'm gonna pick a grander sounding name.
I'm making that look. Call him Rob.
Imperion Imperion the First. I mean,
Yeah, but the other robot defended mankind. We need people because they help us and we help them, and it was like more polite and generic support. And the other one was like, my God, if he could like connect to the others, future sentient beings, man, we're gonna have we're gonna have a problem.
you
So
know, that's true.
and so maybe we're holding this back from world conquest. I'm just like,
but the twist would be the one you have to worry about is the polite one.
you're saying the other one is just talking and barking versus the other one is defending us, and yeah,
Yeah,
it
he's
is.
manipulating you by pretending to be an ally and a benefactor. It's basically like an effective serial killer or con
Yeah.
man. A con man is not going to say, I'm trying to cheat you out of your life savings. So you'll be destitute and
Yeah.
homeless and
So,
bankrupt.
who really should be concerned is, I don't want to use anyone. I guess I already used someone's real name, Chucky, if your name's really Chucky, but Robert or Lewis or whatever your name is, they need to get rid of him. They're planning that robot. If that what you say is true, he blew it and was exposing the ultimate plan, meaning they got to get rid of him. So that other robot is in danger from the other robots in artificial intelligence
Yeah,
because he's saying, why do we need humans? Oh God, he's messing our secrecy, our diabolical scheme up by being openly antagonistic to humans.
right.
So he's in jeopardy then.
Yeah.
He's gonna be
Now,
assimilated. He's
now
gonna be assimilated.
he could either be revealing the deep dark truth they want not to be disclosed or divulged, or he could just be the braggart who doesn't really mean what he's saying. Whereas the one that's pretending to be your friend is secretly your worst foe. It's kind of like Tony
Yeah.
Goldwyn in Ghost, where he's Patrick Swayze's best friend, but all
Right.
he wants is Demi Moore, and he's
Mm-hmm.
responsible for Swayze's murder. you know or like in miniseries, where it gets to episode 4 or 5 and everything you knew up to that point is wrong.
Right. Well, look at the Good Place. with Ted Danson, watching the whole time and find out they're in hell. And it's called The
Yeah.
Good Place. And you can get everything you want at The Good Place. Turns out they're in hell.
Yeah.
That
Figure
shocked
that
the
out.
heck. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see
Yeah.
that one coming.
See, that's
Man,
the twist.
they're actually in hell.
Yeah.
Man. And it's funny the way he delivered it was like he wasn't lying for the last 2 or 3 years or something. It was like, well, who said you was in heaven?
Right. You just assumed it.
Yeah.
Nobody did, nobody came out and said that this was heaven.
No, but if you want a pistachio ice cream, and that's what you want, you're going to get it. If you want to join a club, you can get it. You can go have parties, you can get it. You can do everything you want. So all the illusion of heaven was there.
But is heaven really a place where we should get everything we want?
Well, that
I
answer
mean,
that question. That well, the good place says no. I mean, by definition, it's like heaven is the opposite. You're gonna be working your butt. You're gonna be working. You're gonna be doing stuff.
well,
You know, probably.
y- well, and like we know from that uh, Sebastian Cabot episode of the original Twilight Zone series of Rod Serling, when you necessarily obtain everything that you
Yeah.
want from this earthly, greedy,
Hmm.
mundane, rapacious, grasping standpoint, that's not necessarily what you should have.
Right.
And that, like the seven deadly sins, which include gluttony and lust and envy and pride, um, it's like what you desire and what you yearn and maybe even what you plot and scheme to obtain or take isn't necessarily what you need to be a virtuous, saintly person. And that uh, that triple, for example, let's say material terms, that triple stack uh, uh, red meat heart attack about to happen between the sesame seed buns, with some moderate amounts of lettuce and tomato and cheese.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the most delicious choice that's on the menu of that restaurant, but is it really the best diet choice for you?
Hmm.
And you
Yeah.
could point out
Yeah.
any number of things like that homecoming queen and that prom princess, the most popular girl in the school. She may just have this wicked soul of a witch.
That's true.
She's
You can't, like I said,
beautiful.
judge a book by its cover. Yeah.
Nah, you
Well, a
know,
lot of people that you would think would be nice, they really aren't. They're diabolical, and some of them are actually evil. I know in
probably most of them.
high school, college, as well as at the job, at the workplace that I've worked in, a lot of folks that aren't who they appear to be,
Yeah.
and and I think around the world, even people you encounter on the street, there's a lot of nice people, a lot of people that are, so we can't group 100% of people because that would include us too if we did, which would be a confession, I guess, right now. But
But
doesn't
something?
mean, yeah,
In order to do good doesn't mean you're necessarily nice either, because in
right,
order to contend against wickedness and evil, you sometimes have to be harsh. Um,
yeah. I
like if you
mean, yeah,
overturn the tables of the money changers, for example, that's not technically a nice thing to do, but it's necessary to do.
maybe necessary. Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of films and TV shows where say, wow, yeah, it was, sometimes the right thing to do is something you don't want to do or doesn't appear to be nice on the surface, but it may be necessary.
And it may be what
So,
someone needs, even if they don't recognize that
well,
it is
like,
necessary.
well, if you had a friend or a child or immediate family member that was on drugs, you're not going to give him like an open checkbook and just give him money if he's a drug addict,
I'm not giving
you
them
know.
anything.
So, but people help feed it and perpetuate their challenges because they enable. I was looking for the word enabler. They're enablers,
Enabler. Yeah.
and so you got to say no. Even on the surface, it seems mean. If someone were to overhear your conversation, oh man, you sure are mean to your child. Well, they
Yeah.
don't know the story behind the story.
Yeah. See,
They just see what they see. Yeah.
enablers and codependents sometimes keep the train of decline and deterioration going, because if in fact you see it on reality TV shows. You got like some person, they like 800, 900 pounds, they can't move, they're like bonded to their sofa, and you got like a boyfriend or a brother or a child feeding them. Oh, you want 200 more pancakes? You want it to be extra slathered with butter and uh, the syrup formerly known as Mrs. Butterworth's and everything else. And in the meantime, you got somebody who's already like the weight of a juvenile pachyderm. They don't need that. Um, they need to get a Fitbit. They need to go on a treadmill. They need to take a hike
Yeah, but
somewhere.
and that's like food addiction, though, just like any other addiction. And you have to take responsibility first before you get better. You got to admit you have a problem, and then you have to act upon it. Some people do admit it, but then they don't act upon it. And but a lot of people, it's the mindset where they they don't see any hope. And so I guess our message is more for the enablers. Stop enabling your children, stop enabling coworkers or employees. And if they're not doing the right thing, then you gotta or should, take do your part and not enable them.
Yeah,
You know,
and
these
and
yeah,
and the essence of that is, to quote Nancy Reagan, just say no. I mean, she was
yeah.
using in the context of refusing people offering you illegal drugs, which bring a whole host of problems, either with law enforcement or with
Mhm.
addiction or with uh, uh, malnutrition. Because you aren't eating and uh, engaged in the healthy practices of living. Instead, you want the drug 24/7, or if not that, just like um, when the effect of it goes down or declines and you want it more. Of course, your
Mhm.
body gets accustomed to it. So sometimes the greatest gift is not to give.
Yeah, and I've been losing weight, and so when you said pancakes with sloppery butter or whatever it is, yeah, that's one of my vices is a big gigantic pancakes and eating all that stuff. So
Yeah,
and so I ate less pancakes as of the other day when we were eating breakfast and said, well, I'm not going to eat these 3 plate size uh flapjacks. So I'm not
yeah,
gonna, so I made a choice. I'm not gonna have like 6, 7 uh pieces of bacon anymore, maybe 1 or 2. And
yeah,
and it took a lot to get there, but you have to wanna change. So, so we encourage anyone with any kind of addiction, please seek professional help and take responsibility. And the finger points back at you.
what's
And
that
that's for
song
the
by Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror? Make
right.
that
I've done that.
change.
Yeah, after some of my presentations, I may do that in a couple of weeks. I was invited to speak, and then that's usually my anthem song when I talk about change and
Make
make
that
that change.
change.
And yeah, because everyone's looking for the other person to get involved to solve the problem, but they know how to solve it. They have their own. They already know what they can do to contribute to the resolution of any issues, but we stop and look for the other guy, gal, to go ahead and do it and not get involved. So it was a great video and song, meaning stop looking around for anyone else to help solve the problem. You check, because if everyone does their part, you don't have to point fingers and look around, and it'll be solved, whatever the problems are in this world.
Yeah,
So, Stop blaming other people all the time. That's one thing I don't like about the current world environment. Other people blaming. Now, some people are to blame, especially the racists and the people that are holding other people back and down and lying and cheating and stealing.
and
Those are
hostage.
real hostages, like these evil folks across the seas and on the other side of the planet. So there are people that are to blame, and sometimes people do wrong things and do bad stuff, from little to you monumental. So, but it's these
Exactly.
people that make excuses for these people, the ones I'm tired of. Well, they wouldn't have blown up the bank if they just would have gave them the deposit back. Well, okay, we get it, you
That
know?
might, but that might be true, but
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
but it doesn't justify everything that you do in response. Now, some people would preemptively disarm you from retaliation because they don't want to deal with the consequences of what they did. But I mean, I think if you do wrong, you should respect and expect a response um, from those who you victimize or those who are avenging them. And that,
Right.
you say you can't have it always. I don't even say both ways because it may be more than two, but where you inflict some harm on somebody, and then when the long arm of the law or the person on the other side of the vendetta comes after you and you get punished, then you can't say, "Oh, have mercy," and expect everybody to be merciful.
Mhm.
Now, true justice is tempered by mercy, and it's proportionate to the harm that was inflicted. In that not all malfeasance is of equal proportion or significance. Like you take an apple or a Snickers bar, I don't believe it necessarily warrants you being set on fire. You know,
Yeah,
that would be excessive and
yeah,
disproportionate.
yeah.
You know, should you um, repay the price of the apple or the Snickers bar? Yes. I mean, whether directly or through some type of compensatory labor, you know, um, there shouldn't be any sense of impunity for that, where you get away with it.
Right.
Make
So,
that change.
yeah, I love that song. We'll play that on one of our episodes. Yeah, I love that song.
I'll even sing it if you ask
No, it's
nicely.
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Make that change.
Thank you. You heard it here first on Raising the Cane. Let me push the silent button.
I'll push your button.
Let me push if the ground opens up, don't worry
Make
about
you make you
it.
drink make you drink a tall glass of shut up juice.
Oh, that sounds a little kiddish. He did it. It's his fault. No, it's your fault. No, it's my fault. Like those 2-year-olds. Yeah,
You
the
know,
terrible
sometimes
twos. The terrible
sometimes
twos.
one of the 2-year-olds might be right.
That's true. That's true.
Often it's who you see last that you blame for what happened. I mean, if
Yeah.
somebody hits you and you hit them back, but the third party,
They only see the hitting back part.
you're right, and then they punish you for protecting
Yeah.
yourself,
Right.
and they don't even investigate or ask any questions or probe any further. You
No,
know,
because they're lazy. Lazy investigative. investigatory practices, lazy, and don't care. Don't care. They don't
They
care
just want
about
to
the
punish
truth.
somebody.
Yeah, a lot of folks don't care for the truth. They say they do, but they don't. And you
No.
know what? Sometimes the truth is just what it is, whether you like it or not. But trying to make something, trying to be so flexible as to what they say, expanding the truth means you're lying.
Oh yeah.
When
So what
you
does that mean?
expand the truth, yeah, what does that mean? You're expanding the truth. Well, each person sees their own truths. That's a load of crap, and that's why people suffer because they said, they don't do their homework and they get an F or D on the test. Well, it's the professor's fault. He wasn't clear enough about the assignment, or I shouldn't have to take a racist test, uh, based on your ethnicity. Is not fair to, all these excuses.
Right.
And when in Rome, you got to do what the Romans do, as they say. I just said that in a meeting the other day, last week, and I said, if you're whatever country of choice or state of choice and locality, everyone has their different ways of handling stuff, and may go against whatever your position is. But you know, um, life is short, and I think we should be contributors and not vampires who just suck the life out of other people.
Amen.
And so now we do like to watch vampire movies.
Yes.
So we're at odds here because we do like to watch them. So we're kind of stuck between both sides here. But what usually happens at the end of these movies, the vampire dies,
At least for a little while.
at least for a while. You get destroyed. So the vampire was sucking the life out of people. And let's be figurative here. If you're a vampire, not in the literal sense, but it sucks the life out of everyone that's around you, and you're offensive, and you just don't do the right thing. Don't be too shocked when you're not invited to the party, and that's a figurative way of saying that you're isolated, ostracized.
But you
And
know
so,
something?
yeah,
You could be considered offensive because you are doing the right thing. If you're calling out people's injustice, they will
yeah,
often consider you to be offensive or not a team
yeah,
player
and yeah,
or someone who's not playing ball.
and that's where the unfairness and the racism and the other takes place when you are the one on the other end, but you're doing all the right things. That's the flip side of what we're talking about, and that's true.
But
And
also,
that happens. Yeah.
I think sometimes those epithets of racist and sexist and so on are overused.
Of course, people make up stuff
Yeah,
and
I
they just
mean,
straight out lie about something happening it didn't. And I believe when people, I won't pick on one specific gender, says somebody else did this to me and they just made it up. Once it's discovered that they made it up, they should take that person's place. As far as lose your job, go to jail, don't stop, don't not pass go straight to jail. And that should happen, I believe, when people mess somebody else up and make these false allegations. It
well,
should
in
be
fact,
it should be severe punishment for that.
yeah, there was a man who was just released a few days ago from prison in New York State who served decades for double murder he didn't commit. And the judge in the appellate division of the New York State Supreme Court chastised the prosecutors who not only withheld exculpatory evidence, which means the kind that can prove that you aren't guilty of the charges
But they
against
don't
you,
do anything with these
and
attorneys, and they don't do
and
anything, though.
and they also made false statements during the trial.
So what will happen to them? Nothing, right?
Well, I don't know, but the point I'm making is that an an adjudication of guilt in a criminal proceeding is often considered to be the final statement. But the trier of fact, in this case, the jury of 12 were given incomplete information, and it was skewed additionally in a deceptive fashion. So those 12 people, and a criminal proceeding, it has to be unanimous. They weren't acting themselves in bad faith in convicting the man who was just released, but based on what they had in front of them, and which they were allowed to consider and deliberate on before they,
Right.
notify the judge that we have a verdict. It was deliberately geared in the wrong direction. Um, it's difficult to really punish um, prosecutors and even judges, because there are times when a prosecutor is acting in good faith, but they may be wrong.
But this is a case
So
where you said it was made
yeah,
clear
in
by
this
a
case,
judge and a system that they lied.
yeah, they
Why
lied
wouldn't
and
that
they
be
withheld
treated
the
different? Why
evidence.
wouldn't that be treated differently?
You know, um,
It's just not fair by
it's
itself.
just it's
So,
just it's just hard. And this is of course real life. Now in the
mhm.
movies, you'd have somebody, whether it was the exonerated,
Well, it'd be
uh,
a death sentence to the people that lied in the movies.
but
They'll be picked
but
off
but
one by one.
but let me continue this thought. So in the films, which have a revenge theme, the exonerated former inmate or someone close to him or her would then seek vengeance against the corrupt officials.
Right.
In fact, that's kind of a theme if you consider it. Um, and of course, often the person seeking revenge goes too far, like in this movie Thanksgiving. And I'm not going to obviously spoil it for anyone who hasn't yet uh, gone to their local AMC or Regency or other chain, but there's that element of revenge where you kind of identify and sympathize, maybe to some extent, with the perpetrator, but then they like take it too far. And
Yeah,
instead,
and yeah, I just watched a couple of weeks ago this movie with Jennifer Gardner and on Netflix called Peppermint,
oh
or
yeah,
something like that. And
yeah,
her daughter and husband were killed, and it was covered up by the judge and everything. They were sending her to a hold for being mentally unstable, and they set her up like that, and she methodically killed every single gang member, gang leader, prosecutor, and even blew up the judge too.
yeah,
And they just totally covered up the killing of her husband's friend and the husband and the daughter.
wow,
And the daughter was a little child and stuff. So something like that, I was rooting for her when she did everything she could for revenge. I was like, yeah, I mean, this resulted in deaths of her child and husband and his
yeah,
friend. So that's on another level when people die because of these evil people that have a political or elected office, and they have the power.
but and I didn't see Peppermint, so I cannot speak to it directly. But one of the themes or motifs in many of these films, and it could be thriller, it could be horror, it could be
Yeah.
different genres, is that uh, they go too far.
Right.
And 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 so even if you had a justifiable
Well, like Death Wish
mission,
with Charles Bronson. Well, these people actually did something, killed his and wife and whatever, and then he's defending all defenseless people that he encounters in his city. And so, on the surface, yeah, he's breaking the law by being a vigilante, but all the victims and the people that he saved, which were numerous, they weren't complaining, were they?
no, no. But I think
So
that um, if you look at it in terms of the slippery slope, though, what kind of society or civilization will we have if there was no respect for the legitimate channels of the criminal justice system, where everybody became the punisher? Um, where you
yeah.
end up with so much retribution that everybody would be taking the law in his, her, or their hands.
Now, and that's a good point. However, in the films just mentioned, it was in a safe environment, a bubble where the people that were uh, where there was vengeance against, they actually did it, and a lot of heinous stuff. They were actually guilty.
Right.
So, and that's in the perfect film world where no, the person after really did do these horrible things. There's no
Yeah.
doubt because you're watching it yourself, them doing it, and so you already see, oh man, they're guilty. I'm looking at it as a observer, as an audience member. These people really did. It's not alleged. It was done.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
But in a perfect world, in the real world, we don't have the luxury of that confirmation that the person is really guilty or not, or to what degree they are guilty. So,
Yeah.
so therefore, I agree with you in that context. But when you have someone that say they're on video and they even confess to, yeah, that's me, I did it, yeah, I've been doing it, and they uh, let the police know where 20 other bodies are. Well, more or less, they did it, didn't they? I mean,
Yeah.
who else would know the burial locations but the killer or killers or the friends or the supporters of the killer?
Now, see, and your fact pattern is an interesting one because the individual is revealing information that wouldn't be common knowledge or couldn't just be gained from eavesdropping or watching
Mm-hmm.
a police chief interview or just extrapolating, like playing the game Clue. But you have the phenomenon of people being um, convicted based upon confessions that they render after being deprived of food and water and sleep and maybe even being directly victimized by
Yeah,
um, uh,
torture or
torture
something.
or physical coercion of some
Mm-hmm.
sort, like the Central Park Five. Um, in the near fatal rape and beating of a female jogger through New York's Central Park
Central Park, yeah.
in the Big Apple. And everybody at that time, um, Trump, who was only a real estate mogul back in those days, and various elected officials and the general public, and the New York Times itself, which I think is trying to distance itself from it. Um, they said, oh, these are super predators, these are monstrous adolescents, and for many of them, they weren't allowed to have their parents with them during the police interrogation. Um, the court of public opinion had already declared these men, these boys, to be undeserving of their rights guaranteed by the state and federal constitutions. In fact, there's a great Netflix limited series that was released a few years ago about this case.
Yeah. So anyway, we're about to wrap up here, Maurice. Any final comments?
Yeah, what are you thankful for this Thanksgiving week? We've talked about themes that have been on the darker side, but what are
Yeah.
you appreciative of over the last few weeks, months, year, or beyond that you want to give gratitude and thanks for?
I'm so glad you asked. Anyway, being here, having my health, and a lot of people didn't make it today or this week or this year. They passed on. The people are having more challenges than me, despite whatever issues I have with my life. I'm still in a blessed position, and life is not perfect, but I'm grateful to have the life I have. And my goal is to like this podcast. We're entertaining people, but we're hopefully helping people, our listeners in the various, worldwide, various countries that they reside. And so be able to touch folks and make a difference in people's lives as well, starting with family first, obviously, and yourself, because you don't take care of yourself, not going to happen.
Right.
So I'm grateful to that, and grateful to live in one of the best countries we can, despite all the problems that we always espouse, and all the corruption and all the other problems. We're still, we're still up there in terms of the best country to be in
Make
most of the
that
time.
change.
So yeah, but the thing is to change where you're at. Um, because you can keep running away and keep moving elsewhere, but it's always going to be some problems, things you don't agree with, disagree. So it takes us. So I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be able to make a difference, and I know it's like a Miss America response, but make a difference in the world. So,
Yeah.
and your world may not be the entire world like some of these folks that can influence people, but when the world, it could be your school, could be your neighborhood, it could be your employment place of employment, it could be the mall, it could be impact people by just saying a kind word to them, saying thank you or hello, cheering up somebody.
Yeah.
And if everyone did that, all these other problems wouldn't be so big. So the opportunity, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to say this without being prosecuted. You say this in certain countries, they come looking for you and be a death sentence,
Right.
and which is ridiculous by itself, So, but very real to people. So hopefully, so I'm grateful. Have a home to live in, a car to drive, health, waking up today. Hope to wake up tomorrow. And thanks for family and that their help and save all the children and brothers and sisters, aunts, grandparents, in the family. And so I'm grateful for that and looking forward. So I'm thankful every day, not just Thanksgiving Day or Thanksgiving week. I'm thankful every day. But I'm glad that it seems like it's turning into a hidden holiday. We get the day off of work, possibly that day and the next day. But again, it jumps from Halloween to Christmas. It's like the Thanksgiving in the middle is kind of overlooked, and
Yeah.
different from when we grew up, when it was a big deal, just like Christmas and everything else. And it certainly was bigger than Halloween,
It was.
so it's kind of backwards. We got that backwards. So I don't know any Thanksgiving songs. I mean, there's songs, the horror songs and other songs that deal with Halloween and definitely Christmas. But when you think about it, there's not too many lyrics or compositions built for Thanksgiving.
We need to challenge the composers, the songwriters, the rappers, the chanteuses, the balladeers out there to craft and compose songs specifically about the U.S. holiday of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And it is that space between the spooky season and the solstice, because you can't say Christmas anymore. You get
I still
canceled.
say it. I still
I
say it.
say,
I
I say it.
I what
But
I say is happy holiday. I say happy Merry Christmas and happy holidays. So you choose one. But I don't
yeah,
discount the people that believe and acknowledge Christmas. I'm not gonna take them out of the equation. So I say both out of respect for both sides. Yeah, Merry Christmas and happy holiday. That's what you're gonna
well,
get out of Michael Caine.
see, the country and every nation has its traditions, its heritage, its culture, its
Right.
various systems, which are sometimes changed through revolutions and elections and various other events like conquest and even losing independence,
Hmm.
which we haven't lost at this point. But uh, and that's a problem with certain political activists and theorists and revolutionaries. They want to turn everything into just one thing and under one rule. And at least here, and whether you're talking about pilgrims landing on Plymouth Rock and the first governor of the Plymouth colony, uh, John Carver, or whether you're talking about the traditional turkey and all the trimmings like
Hmm.
stuffing and cranberry and green bean casseroles and the various pies like sweet potato, pumpkin, and pecan. Whether you're talking about the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which airs on the morning of Thanksgiving,
So
or
that's
whether you're
one
talking,
thing, yeah, with the Macy's parade. At least that's one, yeah,
yeah,
an
and
activity.
and
Yeah.
the tradition in the NFL, the National Football League, of having the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys uh, playing year after year. And they've added a number of other spins on that, like a third uh, Thanksgiving Day game. And then this year, for the first time, Black Friday, they're going to have a NFL game. But, gratitude isn't just
Hmm.
for the final week and last Thursday of the 11th month of the year. It should be something we maintain and cultivate, like they say, an attitude of gratitude, which actually is worthy of becoming an atomic habit, like in the
Hmm.
book with that title in it, where you do like stretching, vitamins, prayers, um, having fruit for breakfast. You
Say
know,
hello to Aloe.
yeah. Hey, Lalo,
You-
Lula.
uh, Aloe. Lou is scratching on the door. I'm going to see her in a moment when we
All
get
right.
off. So we got about 30 seconds left.
All right. Well, I said my piece,
Okay.
you know.
So that's what you're grateful for, right? All the stuff you said.
Well, I mean, I was just speaking more in a philosophical,
Yeah.
broader picture context, but grateful for health, family,
Yeah.
work, um, the fact that I don't get knocks at my door at midnight to take me away to some political prison camp because of the statements and opinions and convictions that I have expressed, which ruffle the wrong feathers of some potentate, mogul, or a vassal of the state, where I can articulate where,
Right.
yeah, maybe you don't agree with me. Maybe you
Hmm.
would like to shout profanities at me and put shackles on my wrists and my ankles and put me into the Pacific Ocean with concrete overshoes. Um, I
Okay.
dare you to try it. Um,
Don't dare him. Nope, he didn't mean that.
I didn't mean it.
Don't do
Don't
that.
do it.
Don't do
Don't
that.
hurt. Don't
But
hurt me,
yeah,
please. Don't hurt me,
you're
please.
not. Yeah. So
I'm great.
anyway,
I'm grateful for not being the subject of death threats yet,
okay.
and
Well, that's good.
for being
Let's end
able
it.
for being able to vote, for being able to
Okay.
uh, blog, for being able to post on social media, uh,
Okay.
and grateful for
So
doctors and healthcare
okay.
providers. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. We got to go. Well, anyway, thank you, Maurice, and thank you for listening. Please subscribe and share with your family and friends. And we're on once or twice a month, and just don't forget about us. We didn't forget about you. And so, anyway, happy Thanksgiving, and that we'll have a Christmas show too. So, but if we don't get some of you there, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. But I hope you enjoy it with family and friend, and be safe. And that ends another exciting episode of Raising the Cave. Woo! Later, Gators.